You. Quick question. Have you attended the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue this year? If you've done it, what is your impression of it? I want us to talk about it because it's one of those major conferences that happen every year. And it's good to know what's happening there, right? And this is the main reason I wanted us to have this conversation today. Because we had a speech that I thought was rather interesting to follow, right? And I just want to come back and give you my impression of that, right? So that was the speech of the president, the new president of Kenya, which is Dr. William Ruto. And then, yes, I think he made some interesting point there. And I just want us to come back and discuss about it a little bit more into detail. So, my name is Tony Tiu. I'm the founder and CEO of Renewable in Africa. And the whole idea here is for us to demystify the renewable energy sector for you, right? So we broadcast for 5 platforms, and I'm hoping that you are connected to all of those 5 platforms. So if not, these are the free part of the free thing that I want to do. So the first, as I say, I want you to connect because we're broadcasting from Facebook, from Instagram, from LinkedIn. No, Instagram. I don't think Instagram. I think it's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Telegram. Yeah, those are the 5. So definitely connect to one of those 5, and you'll be good. But ideally, you want to connect to all of them just to make sure that whenever we're having a video, just like we have it right now, you don't miss it. It is important for you, right? And after you've connected, the second thing I wanted to do is simply just to leave a comment. Yeah, leave a comment, tell us what you think about the video that you've seen, whether you like it. And the third thing, it's for you to share that. Yeah. So why are we doing that? So I'm doing it very simple because I know that there's a lot of people that are interested by the sector. Energy, clean energy is becoming bigger and bigger. The industry, green energy, definitely. I was doing a podcast not long ago with Mr. Babs, yeah, Baba Tope, I think you told me, right? So, and I was just reflecting and looking at the industry where I started to where it's right now, completely different. It's just going to go and increasing. And I know a lot of you want to take advantage of that, right? So this is why we have in this kind of session so that we can discuss. So by the way, it's not just people that are new to the system, even people that are already established just want to have a better understanding. Yeah. For example, you have a lot of money, you say, hey, I want to plug into the sector. And I know there's a lot of funds being allocated to tap into the issue of climate change at large, specifically into renewables energy as a mitigation measure, right? They don't necessarily know how to do it, whether they have the right insight or not. This is the reason we're having this kind of conversation so that you get familiar with that and you get comfortable, right? So, same thing as well. If you run, for example, a business, you say, hey, I think I'm receptive to the challenge that you're talking about because we are all concerned about it. And I could see that for myself, right? I'm experiencing it. And I want to take a responsible action. But how do I do it? How do I physically do it? Is it good for my business? Because at the end of the day, if it's not good for my business, it would be difficult technically for me to get it done. This is the reason we're having this kind of conversation so that you can see where are the opportunities, but also the threat. Because the thing that's what it is. If you not do anything, you then exposing yourself to some threat, to some risk. Is it really what you want to do for your business? You want to think about twice, right? And obviously, the third type of people I talk about professional. They're saying that I want to get involved. I want to do what Tony did 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I have to say that, where they jump into the sector. I'm sure if you look at videos of me, pictures of me earlier than 10 years ago, I wasn't that great, right? So you can see what entrepreneurship has done to me and also fighting to make sure that we advance in the cause. But hey, just joking here. So I just want to come back to that speech because the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue, it's one of the leading forum happening every year, right? Where we're talking about the sector, what are the trends, what are the main insights, what are the outcome, the main initiatives that are sort of shaping up. Yeah, you go there, you have like a key stakeholders attending, and basically exposing their vision for other people to adhere or not, right, or even to dispute that. And one of the key guys, the key person I would say at this summit this year was Dr. William Ruto, which is the new president of Kenya. So as you know, so obviously he came into power last year, and Kenya, obviously one of the key leading countries in the continent, was invited and he gave an opening speech where I thought was very remarkable, was very interesting, I would say. And I just want to talk about a couple of points, 5 points, right, that I picked up that I believe are defined has been and to give you a perspective of what some of the leaders, certainly Kenya, is thinking in Africa. So is it okay? That's fine. So have you watched that speech? Have you been to the conference? If you have been there, so let me know what you think about that. So do you have any opinion? Did you like it, not like it? So let's go for it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna play the speech just for few seconds, maybe a minute or two. Yeah. And then after that, I'm just gonna stop and we're gonna come back and discuss it. And I'm just gonna give you, the 5 points for me that I picked up and that I thought are important to see. Yeah. Is it okay? So let's do that together, my friend. 1 second. Let me just share that. And it's gonna be okay. So okay, where is it? Okay, that's fine. Let me just play that. Hopefully,
it's a valuable platform to exchange ideas on how to address the two interlinked challenges we face, that is of climate and energy. The conference comes just a week after the IPCC released the synthesis report, which essentially puts the world on notice that we are on the brink of irrevocable damage unless we act swiftly and before it's too late. And the message was loud and clear. The world needs to reach net zero sooner than was anticipated in the Paris Agreement, that is by 2040 instead of 2050. To achieve that goal, and what are the drastic actions needed to cut emissions is the dialogue that governments and policymakers around the world must have. And that is why this energy transition meeting is timely. The dialogue on energy transition, on how to balance energy security, affordability, and lower greenhouse emissions is at the heart of sustainable development, and it is a transition that needs to happen even faster. The vital role of energy in our lives and economies was brought home last year in 2022, especially to Europe, more compellingly than ever before in recent history. Europe accelerating its transition to renewable energy, now driven not only by an existential imperative, but also by energy security concerns.
Okay. Hey, let me just stop sharing here and we can continue. Stop sharing here. So let me just go back to my video. So a little clip regarding this this speech, and I'm hoping that lots of you would have picked that up. If you've not done it, I will encourage you just to go and Google it and look at that. But for the time being, let me just give you my impression of it. I can see a number of you are watching. That's fine. Thank you very much, guy. I appreciate that. I love it. Yeah. So don't hesitate to drop me a message there, or a question. If you have a question, I would love to respond to some question right today. So if there's some question, because it was sort of a major speech. But let me tell you why it was a major speech. Yeah. So what I find it quite interesting, because the rationale, what I've seen a lot in these last few months since last year, when you go into conference after conferences, it's we tend to have only one vision of Africa, which is to say that yes, the continent, and he said that the president himself, the president is not a major polluter in this world. Everybody knows that, and because the continent is a major polluter, the continent should be allowed to keep on using the fossil fuel, right? His fossil fuel resources. That's what we tend to hear. I'm not disputing that, right? So, but we putting so much emphasis on that, right? We sort of sometimes forgetting the other aspect, which I thought, Dr. William Ruto, sort of highlighting today, or at least in the speech, quite brilliantly, right? We're sort of missing up a little bit the opportunities as well that we have here, that is happening for the continent, which is actually quite brilliant. And just to show that, yes, there's clearly a movement here for energy transitions, right? For clean energy, that is happening. It's happening everywhere in the world, right? And what I'm saying, Africa should not miss the boat once again. No. Yeah, this is the thing. And we shouldn't be also thinking that, okay, if we're not just looking at the perspective, yes, we gonna keep on using the only way for us to keep on developing is just to keep using our fossil fuel. For me, we're gonna be missing maybe the biggest opportunity for generations, right? In the speech, Dr. William Ruto was actually quite good at putting forward. And like I say, I've not seen that many leaders in the continent that actually sort of are basically pushing that message forward. Just before I carry on, let me just clarify something here, yeah? Maybe to some of my Kenyan friends, because I obviously have a team in Kenya watching me, or all the friends that I have, or even people that I don't know, whether in Kenya or not in Kenya. I just want to say, I am not making a political point here, not at all. No, I'm not particularly a supporter of William Ruto. No, I'm not diving into the internal policy. That's what I want to say here. What I'm going to be assessing here is actually the speech. This is what I am assessing. I'm not assessing the politics of the guy himself, right? It's actually what he said. He's an institution. He represents a country. He's making a speech. He's making a position of a country. And that's what I'm assessing here, right? And I just want to make it clear so that, because I know at times when I'm having this kind of position, I can see people that just jump on the seat, he's this, he's that. This is not what we're talking about here. So are we clear? Yeah, excellent. So hopefully that's fine. So back into that. I was saying that I've not seen many leaders out there that are pushing this message forward. Just said, hey guys, what we also have here, it's a fantastic opportunities. Fantastic opportunity if we know how to look at it from the proper way. Let me now explain that in the 5 points that for me I picked up from that speech, and that explained what I said. So the first point that I picked up that was very good, especially at the beginning of the speech. So he talked about the fact that about more than 100 years ago, so there was in Berlin still a very famous, or infamous rather, conference, right, where you have Europeans sitting around the table and carving up Africa, right, splitting that up, between themselves, saying, hey, who's going to take what part of the continent, and enjoying it. And that was rather unfair for the people of Africa and many other people around the world, because, like I say, the fate of the world was actually decided at that conference of Berlin, by just few people, and they were doing that just for their own interest, right? So he reminded that to the audience. He did that quite cleverly, I have to say. But it's important to remember that, to say that, okay, there's also a sense of justice that needs to happen for the continent, to say that this time round, let's just make sure then when we're having those kind of conferences, we are a lot more inclusive, and we give into the continent of Africa its right seat at the table for the continent to say what what she wants, right? That's what, and to make sure the best interests are preserved, right? So that is very important, and sort of reminded the audience about that. And clearly, with the kind of leaders now we're having in the continent, I believe we not, or I'm hoping we're not about to see the kind of conferences that we had 100 years ago, right? So it's very, very important to understand, to also to look at where we're coming from. But he also made sure that to say that he was not there to look at the past, but rather the future. How do we construct a future together? Because that's what it is, right? We're bound to live together. Africa, Europe, even other continent, we gotta live together. That planet is for all of us. That this is the house. Yeah. That was the first point that you mentioned. I thought was clever, and that was brilliant for people also to understand it. And that sort of leads into the second point, which is also good, just to say that the continent of Africa, which is also true, it's not one of the main polluters. In fact, we're contributing the less. But the continent at the same time, is suffering the most from the consequences of climate change. This is a fact now, and everybody recognize it, yeah, and will obviously agree with that. And because of that, right, it means that the partners of Africa, together with African leaders, have a responsibility to take the right course of action to make sure that moving forward, we can put the continent in a much better place. And we are all concerned about this point about climate change. And the key thing is that moving forward, once again, yet again, the continent has fantastic resources that are needed to move into that energy transition. So that means whether Africa wants it or not, that's important to see. Whether Africa wants it or not, Africa again sits at the heart of the energy transition. Because if you're talking about technologies like, battery storage, where we need lithium, you need cobalt, this kind of minerals. Where do you find them in abundance? Yeah, most of it will come from the continent of Africa. Once again, so that's what I say. The continent is at the heart of it. So I know some people will sometimes say, "Hey, we're not concerned about energy transition. We only focus on energy access because that's a priority." I would say yes and no. Yes, energy access is a priority, but no, you are at the heart of the energy transition, whether you like it or not, because you also have the resources that are crucial for everybody else, right? And because you're also struggling, you're also suffering the most from the consequences of climate change. It is your duty, whether you're a leader of Africa or whether you are what would I say, a partner of Africa, to take that into account. So this is what it has to be taken, it has to be brought together. And they also say that there's clearly a way to do the two together. That's what the speech was doing. In fact, you can actually accelerate the energy access, taking advantage of the opportunity that energy transition is bringing. And that for me was brilliant. Yeah. And that was the second point I mentioned. Again, as I say, I have personally not seen many leaders in the continent pushing that message forward. And I thought that was refreshing. What do you think about that? Have you heard the same thing as me, or is that just me just sort of making up stuff in my head? So I like to hear your opinion about that. Yeah, drop me a message in the comments. I appreciate that. Whether you're watching it live, I'm hoping you're watching live, or you are actually watching it afterwards. No problem at all. Let me move to the third point. So the third point, as he was actually talking about the fact that the continent should take advantage of energy transition because we definitely have resources that could be used and create a fantastic opportunity. He then went on to make some set of recommendation that that Africa and the partners should look at in order to move that conversation forward. Energy transition, how can Africa take advantage of it? Yeah. And he made a set of recommendations, and that I invite you to pay attention to and to look and to listen to the speech, just to look at them. But there's one thing that he said out of those recommendations was very interesting for me. Yeah, was one thing that he said, and essentially what he mentioned was that there was clearly a way taking advantage of new technologies, taking advantage of the momentum created by energy transitions, by the movement towards green energy, clean energy. There was clearly opportunities here to sort of reach energy access for everybody by 2030 in the continent, which is SDG 7. Why at the same time, reducing by 80% the CO2 emissions? I guess it's from the continent. He didn't specify that, but I guess it's from from continent by 80%. So basically, we can reach, using the momentum created by clean energy, we could reach full electrifications and energy access for everybody by 2030. Why at the same time, dropping the energy, the CO2 emission by 80% for the continent? And that for me was great to say that, to hear that. Providing, that's also what he said, providing the partners of Africa are able to bring the right kind of support. The right kind of support, I guess, is a combination of I would say, financial support, but also probably psychological support, or some technical support as well. Yeah, because that's also part of the equations. If the right kind of support is put together, right kind of investments put together, it is achievable by 2030. Yeah, I thought that was actually fantastic to hear that. So I personally believe it's a bit ambitious, 2030, looking at where we are at the moment. But I would like to think, we're looking at where he is. So he certainly have more data that I would have, and he can make this kind of statement with certain level of certainty. I would imagine. I would imagine. However, whether it's 2030, 2040, but like I say, the vision that he put forward for me was interesting, refreshing, simply because I do not see enough leaders in Africa, pushing that message. A lot of them, I personally believe, still hanging up too much to the system working on fossil fuel. Yes, we all know that we need energy mix for the continent. That's what the solution really is. But a lot of them still hanging on to fossil fuel. Yeah, they're not really wanting to tap into the opportunity that energy transition brings. So forget about the fact that we also say, yo, this is the idea pushed by the West. Hey, forget about it for a second. Look at what we have in the continent. Can we take advantage about that? The answer is yes. How do we take advantage of it? That is what we need to be thinking about, right? So, because anyway, like I said, we are struggling, suffering from the issue from climate change. This is a fact. We can't hide it. This is not something, French, the British, whatever. This is a fact. Yeah, we're not responsible for it. That's absolutely clear. And based on that, we should have, let's say, a different treatment. Absolutely clear. At the same time, we have responsibility towards our citizens, and they are suffering from the effect of climate change. What are we doing? We can't just keep on saying that what we've done in the past that has been part of the problem, is causing it, but we don't want to fix it just because we're afraid that we're going to just destabilize everything. This is not correct. If we decide that we want to take action, we now look at how do we take action, making sure that we mitigate a number of the negative effects and basically stabilize the situation. There's a way to do it. Anyway, he was quite good on saying that. The fourth point that he mentioned, because I need to start wrapping up, right? The fourth point that I mentioned was obviously just saying that in terms of moving the continent forward, Kenya, Africa at large, certainly Kenya was actually open, to work on a number of initiatives and wanted to position himself as a leader to carry the baton. Yeah, and obviously that's normal. He's the president of Kenya. He represents Kenyans before representing Africans, and he's allowed to say that, and he's right. And Kenya has been obviously a leading country because he mentioned that 94% of the energy capacity, power generation capacity in Kenya come from renewables, combination of hydro, solar, geothermal. Yeah, so they're doing some great work there, and that's great. And they're aiming to reach 100%. I think was it 2030 or 2040? I can't remember exactly, but they definitely are aiming to reach that. Yeah, and that I thought was also fantastic to hear from himself, coming from him. So as I say again, I'm not judging the politics of the man or whatever. Yeah, so I also will admit that I don't know too much about his internal politics, his journey. I learned a little bit about him since he was a candidate, for presidency. After he became president, obviously, like I said, as well, I have my team in Kenya. They were briefing me, no problem. So I'm not judging the man himself. I know the question around him. This is not what I'm discussing here. What I'm discussing is a speech, which I thought was a good speech. I could say that, yeah. And him representing an institution. So the final point, which is the fifth point that I want to mention here, is that he announced that was actually quite good as well. He announced that for the first time. So Kenya going to be, launching Africa Climate Action Conference, which is going to be between the 4th I think was it the 4th or the 5th or 4th or the 6th of September this year. And I thought, oh, that was great. Again, I don't think I've seen that before. So I was part of a conference. I was organizing committee, which was the 1.5 degree Africa Net Zero Conference, right? So which happened last week, and then I could not attend for obviously uh, event beyond my control last minute, but I supported the best I could, and I know that it was definitely a success based on the feedback I have had. But when you were doing that, obviously, I know it may have not been necessarily the most popular event at the time when we were conceiving it, because like I say, the way the continent are looking at this question is slightly different, which I also understand, but slightly different. So seeing a country, a president announcing that we're going to a climate action conference and the conference for the first time, that is great. Is to say, hey guys, what are we doing about it? You know, so what are we deciding to do? How do we take advantage of the opportunity based on the fact that at the end of the day, if we want to develop ourselves, we know that we need partners. And it's far easier to convince your partners if you know that they also moving towards a certain direction that you can take advantage of. Yeah. And that is what he announced that was great. So I'm hoping that, who knows, I may be able to participate at this conference, and then I'll certainly will love it. So hey, if there is anybody from William Ruto here from the circle, hey, feel free to invite Renewables in Africa. It would be great to participate, and not just participate. So we would like to see how we can contribute, because I felt that was a brilliant speech. I really liked it, and I believe our leaders, this is the kind of conversation they need to be having. Because I say, yes, hey guys, just don't get hung up to the past, right? There are fantastic opportunity here just open up for you. How do you take advantage of it? Yeah. So that we're moving toward this system where we can have energy mix that we need in the continent, but really taking advantage of the fantastic opportunity that open up for us. And that's what is want to say. So let me just again play a last part of the speech, and before we can actually wrap it up. By the way, if you have questions, guys, just drop it. So I will love it.
In Nairobi from 4th to 6th in, while failing to invest in real transition pathways towards a better, brighter, and cleaner future. I hope you all will join me in the next few days in rising to this challenge of genuine partnership. Finally, I would like to announce to you that Kenya is hosting the first ever Africa Climate Action Summit in Nairobi from 4th to 6th September this year. The object of the summit is to rally the world to tackle climate challenges that the least emitting continent, and to more importantly tap the numerous opportunities that Africa presents towards global zero ambition. The summit will provide a unique platform to deliberate on the nexus between climate change and Africa's development reality, and the need to push for increased investment in climate action globally, and specifically in Africa. I invite German and European companies and organizations to come and sample opportunities and ideas on Africa's contribution to solving this global climate challenge that poses existential threat to humanity. Let us work together for pro-climate, pro-growth development. It has been proven that we can reduce emissions even as GDP grows. And Kenya and Africa are the best partners for this paradigm shift. I thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so that's an excerpt of the speech that William Ruto has shared. So hopefully you've seen that like me. So you go and look it up for yourself. and you would appreciate that. So that would be fantastic and great. So as of me, I think that's all I had to say for today. I don't know if there is any question. If there's any question, I'd be more than happy to respond to that. So drop it in the comments. I can see there's a few people watching us at the moment. That's great. So we have 8 people on YouTube, for example. Excellent, guys. So I just wave my hand at you. So thank you for taking the time just to listen on a Sunday. I know you could be doing multiple other things, but you here because you want to understand how this industry works. You want to understand how can I get some vital insight for me to know how I can position myself. So in that, I'm very, very grateful and happy to have you here. So yeah, so that's what it was all about. I don't think and I see any question at the moment. I think everything was quite clear to you. What I would strongly recommend to you, definitely do one thing, go on the YouTube and watch that. I can see, oh, thank you. I can see there's somebody here from YouTube just sharing a message. Thank you for your hard work. And that's a Kurmi, yeah, MJ Kurmi. So yeah, thank you very much. And thank you as well for watching. So I appreciate that. So that is what is keeping us going. It's because I know there are people that are silent but watching us, paying attention to what we're doing and enjoying it. This is the reason we want to do what we are doing, right? And I'm hoping that there's a key thing, guys. So if you like it, if you believe that it's of it was of a value for you, please, guys, share that with people. Share the people that you believe may like it, because there's a lot of people, right? A lot of people that like to take advantage. They just don't have the information. They just don't have the time. So what we do, people like myself, other people as well, we find a way to give you those informations, yeah, for you to move forward. And if there are companies out there that say, hey, we're doing great things, we just don't have the visibility necessary for people to know what our product or services that we have that help them to accelerate, reach out to us, because we have a fantastic awareness program that we obviously put it at the disposal of our client to help them to tap into those opportunities and to have more leads and to more sales. So definitely reach out to me. Drop me a message on DM me. So either me or my team will be more than happy to work out with you. Right? I know there's a number of people I believe work with us already. They're quite happy, and I like you to be the next one. Right? So that's what I want to say. There's 2 things for you. Number one, go and watch the video for Dr. William Ruto. Please, I'm sure you will like it. So if you don't like it, just tell us why you didn't like it. So if you like it, leave us a comment as well. Tell me what you think about that. So the second thing I can say, if you're a business, say, hey, I'm struggling in isolation here. I'm struggling in silence. I like to see how you, Tony, how you Renewables in Africa can help us, come out a little bit more out there for people to come and sample, understand what we're doing, and then be part of it and get more leads and make more sales, make more money. Because by making more money, that's how I have more impact and I grow the industry. You are talking to the right man. To reach out to me, I promise you won't regret it. Is that okay? Excellent. Yeah, more than happy to give you the first meeting for free, no problem at all. Yep. So guys, that is what I wanted to share with you for today. So I'm just gonna leave you, go back to your normal day-to-day activities, and then and we're gonna catch up tomorrow, for the one day one concept idea. You know what we do usually, right? So we take one idea and in 5 minutes we explain it to you so it becomes clearer. So definitely we're gonna be there tomorrow and all the other day until on the Saturday and Sunday. So for the full week we are actually touching and reaching out to you. So that's all I have to say. So you have a fantastic day. So pleasure to meet up with you on a daily basis and to give you as much information as I can. So yeah, pleasure. And if anything, just reach out to me. I'm looking forward to talking to you. May the sun be with you guys. Take care. Bye bye.